Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Man, we're almost through the week. Appreciate you being with us here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by and powered by our good friends at Andy Moore Honda. Just get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com in the best in new and used vehicles. And our friends down over at the Rusty Gator over in Bedford, Indiana. Great quick Cajun cuisine. Live music on the weekends as well. Stop in. Check them out. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, Gritty. Appreciate you. That's right on. I hope everybody's doing well. Great start to your day. And we have got a loaded show. Coach Shannon Griffith joins us, as always, on this Thursday. Bob Kravitz from BobKravitz.com. Chris Denari from the Pacers. And the special guest today, Adam Gorney, Rivals national recruiting analyst, will join us. And we'll talk about Indiana, of course, the Big Ten, and a little bit of a story. It's been making its rounds. Some guy named Juju Lewis. Who told you first? I'm telling you, I've been banging that drum for a couple of months that Indiana is more than just a pretty face in this race to land one of the nation's top quarterbacks, which is hard to believe. Yes, I understand that, but it's a new day and age. New day and age. How's everybody doing? The Olympics have come to a close. That is done and over, baby. It's football season up next, whether you're talking high school, college, or the NFL. It is upon us. We are just over 2 weeks from kickoff for college football, for most college football, that is. Week 0 stuff starts. But we don't need no stinking week 0. I don't know why they have a week 0 other than money, but there's not these great games in week 0, so there's no draw other than, I guess, potentially allowing those teams some TV time. Other than that, I don't get it. I don't see it, but that's okay. Looking forward to talking to each and all of our guests, especially Adam Gorney. He is tied in to what's going on in that buzz about Juju Lewis. And I see. I think I have tweets that are probably 3 months old that says Indiana is in the final 2 of this. But we shall see. A lot of people think it's just an NIL play to get more NIL money, but I think that I think Indiana is in a better position than most people think. And USC, it's kind of odd because you've got Lincoln Riley and he is Mr. Quarterback's coach. But there is a great relationship between Tino Sunseri and Juju Lewis, in addition to the fact that Kurt Cignetti's offense is one that has been successful and fun. And you look at some of the pieces that Indiana has that I've been talking about. The receiving core, having one of the top receiving cores in all of the Big Ten. That's a good draw. Why would you not want to go to a place where you can throw the ball to all of the top targets in the league? So it's going to be interesting, and that decision probably is still a ways off, but we shall see. It will be interesting. Let's see. Former Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy already out for the season in the NFL. That sucks. A preseason injury, torn meniscus in his knee, which I know how painful that can be. But he's already done for the season. Caleb Williams. Now, if you're a Bears fan, you've got to be happy, because between Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, man, they picked up some pieces in the through the draft in the offseason. Speaking of Michigan, though, former or current Michigan coach Sharon Moore says he looks forward to the release of the text messages that he deleted, like 50-something of them. Michigan's already on a 3-year probation, whatever that means now. Harbaugh has a 4-year show cause for all the stuff that Michigan has gone through, multiple NCAA investigations of alleged cheating. And it's nearly impossible to get caught up in NCAA problems nowadays. The NCAA is so toothless. But the fact that this just shows how brazen Michigan was, how desperate Jim Harbaugh was. I'm telling you, he was a desperate man after getting his butt beat for like 7 straight years by Ohio State and Ryan Day. So the 4-year show cause, I have a problem with the NFL not recognizing that show cause, acknowledging it in some way. Whether it is okay, if you have a 4-year show cause in the NCAA, then we have to give you a 1-year moratorium in the NFL. Otherwise, who cares? He's just going to go off and where he's been rumored to go to for so long anyway and make more money. So it's kind of a joke, in my opinion. So, but I predict that, I've been saying that Michigan is a team that I don't know about. I'm starting to wonder if they finish outside of the top 4 of the Big Ten. I don't know who that 4th team is going to be. I really don't. We've got Oregon and Ohio State, of course, at the top, Penn State right there. After that, I don't know. I think Michigan is going to have – Michigan also lost – their quarterback, their running back, half their offense. They lost their defensive coaches as well. So they lost a ton. Now, reloading at Michigan is a lot easier, obviously. You can look and see what Indiana's done. But it's with all that's going on there, can they use the blinders and ignore it? Yeah, very possible. Very possible. But we shall see. We shall see. The Netherlands in the recent Olympics, even though they've just finished up, I saw that they sent a men's beach volleyball player to the Olympics, Steven van der Velde, who was a convicted rapist. He was convicted of rape in 2016, a 12-year-old British girl. And I'm just more than shocked. There was all the crap about the boxers who were actually females and their sexuality stuff. I've got less problem with that than I do with this. How does a convicted rapist become an Olympic athlete? How is, if you have a conviction, a felonious conviction like this on your record, and it's okay for you to be in the Olympic Village? What, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, and the response by the IOC was that, hey, we've got no control who the Netherlands sends. If he qualified, he qualified. Hello? No one has any morals here? Not the Netherlands or the IOC. How can there not be a rule that you cannot be a convicted felon and be an Olympic athlete? it's just a little crazy. So it's just a wild. Friday, October 12th, OSU at Oregon. Yeah, that's going to be a big game. That will be a big game, a fun game to watch. So, just reading through some of the comments, and you can hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline if you're going through the YouTube channel, Indiana Sports Beat YouTube channel. And a big shout out and thanks to all of our peeps listening on radio around the state, from our River Rats down on 97.7 ESPN, the ref, always the right call, down in the Evansville area, up in the region, the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and over in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it tuned here to each and every one of these stations, and you'll hear some great programming afterwards. The Sports Rush with Brett Rupp on The Fan comes after us. I think Brian down in Evansville. So all kinds of local programming coming to you right after ISB radio as well. Plenty to come to on this beautiful day. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking to Coach Griff as we'll continue the chat about IU recruiting as it moves forward. Not a lot else going on. Indiana is what it is. I mean, the great thing is we don't have to worry about a quarterback's race. There's no quarterback's race. Curtis Rourke is your starting quarterback. You can guarantee you that. No doubt about that. And I wonder what it would be like if, let's say, Indiana landed daggone, I just drew a blank on his name. Juju Lewis. You've got Tyler Cherry in the fold, who is also a pretty decent quarterback, and he'll have a year of tutelage under his belt from Tino and the group there, so that will help him. It should be one hell of a quarterback's battle. You would have Taven Jackson, who would have 3 years under his belt by then, and boy, he transferred in from Tennessee, hoping to move into the starting spot, and it's just not. He cracked it last year, but that if you recall, he was not the guy I named to start at the start of the year, and then he ended up not being the starter midway through the year. So, oh well, we've got lots more coming up here on the beat. We'll be back with it. Coach Shannon Griffith joins us next. Actually, no, Shannon doesn't come on until later on. I'm confused. Bob Kravitz. We'll try to get Bob to join us a little bit earlier than I had anticipated. So we've got lots more coming up. We're back with it right after this.
Segment is brought to you by the Rusty Gator.
Hey, can you text him again? And I meant now. I'm sorry. It was confusing.
Yeah.
Because that way I can take him long. I didn't change it on my daggone sheet yesterday.
Shannon is asking if 9:30 is okay.
Yes, that's we need Bob now.
Okay.
It is 9:30 for Shannon. I set it up that way, and I forgot. I changed it so I can have Bob at 8:50 and take him long. We need you, Bob. We need. What about Bob?
All right. I just I sent him a message. Then 9:30 for Shannon.
Dadgummit. The reason I want Bob now is that way I've got an open segment afterwards. I can take Bob long.
Right.
And then Shannon, Denari, and Adam Gorney to finish it out. It's a rock and roll lineup, baby. All right. I don't need that. Bam, bam, Bigelow.
All right, we are going back in 15 seconds.
All right. Hopefully Bob will join us.
Yep. About 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you here on this Thursday. Thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate you, and looking forward to Bob Kravitz joining us. We'll also talk to Coach Shannon Griffith, Chris Denari from the Pacers, and Adam Gorney, the national recruiting analyst for Rivals and Yahoo, as well. A conversation with him about the recruiting coming up. Hello, Michael. How are you doing, sir? You know what? That's a great question. Michael asking if I'm going to any high school scrimmages tomorrow night or some high school games next week. That's a great question. I would like to be able to squeeze that in because now is the time. So may have to see what's on the schedule. But good suggestion. Appreciate it. Yeah, and Rudy, great. Didn't want to forget that. Big news for Indianapolis. The WNBA All-Star Game there's an announcement expected to be coming today that the WNBA All-Star Game is coming to Indy next year. But of course, where else would a major professional sporting event take place? But Indy is the home of hosting professional sports. It should just be the permanent. It should be on the permanent rotation for everything, for the Super Bowl, for the NBA All-Star Game, for the WNBA All-Star Game, the NCAA Final Four. You've got the Big Ten Football Championship, Big Ten Media Days. It should just host everything, and I would be happy. I would not be the only one happy when there would be a lot of other guys happy as well. But Indianapolis is the professional hoster of everything. So, but yeah, that's going to be a cool deal. And don't think that's an accident. That's actually, to me, I think that is a salute to the Indianapolis fans. And the fact, and Caitlin Clark and Alea Boston and what they are doing, and the city, the fans, the Indianapolis, you have got to give the credit to those people, Caitlin Clark, Alea Boston, and the fans of the Fever. There's no doubt to me that's the reason why. The excitement, the buzz, the packed Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the fact that Indianapolis is the single best city to hold an event in. I mean, Indianapolis is not the largest city, but it doesn't have to be, because that's what makes it perfect for these events, in my opinion, is to be able to do those things. And you can get around. You can access restaurants. You can access the hotels. You can access the center of where the field house and where the game's taking place. Everything is within, it's not all within walking distance. If it's not, it's a short Uber ride. You're still within the confines of the bubble area. It places to go for fans, restaurants, bars. Everything is there, and it's connected. There are the upper level walkways amongst it. It's set up. They have purposely set themselves up that way, and it's worked out. And so congratulations. And Indianapolis continuing to move forward. They're looking to add an MLS team, another professional sports team. That'll be the third professional sports team, or major sport league sports team in the city. Baseball would be the only one missing, and that's something that could be added later. I don't think so, though, because you already have a lot. Not only do you already have 3 professional sports teams, you have all the other things that most cities don't have going on. First of all, you're the home of the NCAA. You're the home of the Pan American Games. You're the home of USA Gymnastics. You're the home of all of these things these cities don't have. Then you get all these other events, the NCAA, et cetera, the Big Ten men's basketball championship, women's basketball championship, all these other events. It's a constant churn of major events that are going on there. So congratulations and a big time salute to Indianapolis. Congratulations to them. And looking forward to all that stuff that's coming too. And looking forward to Bob Kravitz joining us. Was hoping to have him on a little sooner than this, but we shall wait. I'll try to see if I can get Nick to quickly download some comments from Donovan McCulley and Omar as they spoke to the media today. Omar Cooper, of course, and I spoke of one of the, with being Indiana has one, if not the greatest receiving corps in the Big Ten, and it's going to be fun to watch them in Kurt Cignetti's offense. I'm going to have to come up with a word to describe what I think Kurt Cignetti's offense is. It's a bit like controlled chaos. It's a combination. It's not an air raid. It's a combination, though, a balanced combination of an offense that it's very up-tempo, first of all. Up-tempo. There have been comments by players here lately that have talked, especially the receivers, about how the practices much more tempo. So they weren't used to that because the last year, when the last season, Tom Allen, that they felt he wasn't pushing them anymore, and where they weren't being pushed as much and they weren't being yelled at as much in practice. And he said they could tell a difference. And this year it took them a minute, but now, and they seem to be enjoying very much how they're being coached. But also, Kurt Cignetti, he doesn't waste time. It's not, he doesn't have this agenda, even for practice, that says, all right, this is going to take 2 hours. If he feels like they've gotten done what he wants to get done in an hour and a half, that's it. He's not going to go longer just because the time is there. He is setting his team up to practice just like they play in a game. Up tempo, boom, boom, boom. And they are sticklers to details. Whether it's Kurt Cignetti, whether it's Tino Sunsery, it doesn't matter. everything has to be done right. Every formation has to be right. Every stance has to be right. There's no such thing as perfection, but they are striving to get as close to that as possible and to do it with the tempo that is going to be used in games so that it's not a surprise. It's not different. It's all the same, that you just simply move it from the practice field to the playing field. And I think people are really going to enjoy this offense, and because it's going to be fun no matter what, even in a losing cause. I think that this is what's going to give Indiana the ability to compete with teams they haven't been all that competitive with over the years. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to the Michigan game. I mean, there's several games, of course. Obviously, the UCLA, the first big test, it's a road game. Boom. Even Northwestern. That's a road test of different sorts. It's a team that you're kind of supposed to beat. I don't know that Indiana will be the favorite. As of right now, would they be the favorite? Probably not, because a game hasn't been played. But going forward, that's 6 games into the season. By then, Indiana could be 5-0, 4-1, and that could change. But they're playing on a soccer field, don't forget, a temporary stadium of sorts, while Northwestern builds their brand new stadium right on the lake, and it's going to be beautiful. And that's extremely smart of the folks at Northwestern, because why not go out and catch a Saturday afternoon football game by the lake? Doesn't matter if it's Northwestern. Who cares? They're playing Ohio State. They're playing Michigan. They're playing Penn State. They're playing Washington. They're playing Oregon. Who knows? A big-time team comes in, and, man, you don't even have to be a Northwestern fan if you live in Chicago. What a great Saturday afternoon that's going to be. So, Russell pointing out that Malachi Moreno is set to announce his decision on Friday, which that's a little surprising, considering that there were multiple visits scheduled for him after this date, one specifically to Indiana in September the 20th, the weekend of the Charlotte game, weekend after the UCLA game, along with Braylon Mullins and Trent Sisley. So I'm going to guess that, and he's been crystal balled to Kentucky, which I shouldn't be surprised, just because, he lives right next to Kentucky, literally. He might as well be in Ellettsville to Bloomington is where he lives in Georgetown compared to Lexington. So I'm going to be surprised if Kentucky's not the pick with this early decision coming. Why this decision's coming this early, that's a little bit of surprise. You don't see a lot of these other players doing this. So it's a little early, and to not take the visits, I'm sure that he is very close with his mom. That may be a big part of this, so she can participate and watch his games. It's not a miss. This is not a miss by Mike Whitson, because getting this kid out of Kentucky was always going to be tough. Hell, he lives next door to Lexington. But it's sure that would have been a nice get. The good thing, though, as you've seen the portal, baby, you can go out, you can find a Kalel Ware, you can find a new Marballo. There's always going to be somebody that you can fill in that slot. And to be honest with you, I was reluctant to think that Indiana was going to be able to land all of these guys. I mean, I just talked about 2 of them in Braylon Mullins and Trent Sisley. There's also Jalen Harrelson. So I don't see more than 3 new recruits coming in anyway. So that kind of allows that some space to happen. I would be more than shocked if any of those other 3 make an early decision like that. But we shall see. But yeah, it's that's okay. The portal will again, there you go, Russell. The portal will again loom large next spring. But that's okay. It's not a big deal. I'm a little surprised too with what Mike Woodson has done with the big men here of late. And Mark Pope does not have a track record of sending. Kentucky coach Mark Pope does not have a track record of sending guys to the NBA. So, but there's so much that goes into it. Kentucky's got that big NIL mark. The last thing Kentucky and Mark Pope wants and really could have used probably would have been to lose what is in essence considered a hometown guy in Malachi Moreno, since he lives right there in Georgetown, which is right next to Lexington. To lose him to Indiana, that would have been a huge blow to Kentucky. It's like if there was a kid from Ellisville that Indiana was all in on and lost him to Kentucky. It's the same thing. So I get it. It makes sense. And Brian is right. If you grew up next to Lexington, chances are, since you were a kid, you envisioned playing there in Rupp Arena. He says he gets that. I get that. I mean, it's kind of hard to have a juggernaut over your shoulder your whole life and it not affect you. Plus, like I said, very close to his mom. She is the main caretaker. I can see him not wanting to do added, not stress, but the inability. That's a 3-hour drive minimum from Lexington to Bloomington. So she can see every home game now and be home in her own bed at night. So good to her. We've got to take a quick break. We've got the king, Bob Kravitz, coming up from bobkravitz.com. Appreciate you being with us here on this beautiful Thursday. It's brought to you by our friends at the Ugly Grouper down on Anna Maria Island, Florida, whether you're already in the area or heading in that direction for vacation. The Ugly Grouper has got your favorite craft beers, cocktails, live music each and every night, and locally sourced seafood. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
Segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
Hello, Robert.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing just dandy. I played 9 hours of golf yesterday.
I played 18 and shot a 90.
Not bad. That's consistent, baby. 45 and 45.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. 45-45.
Hey, are you going to be able to make it down next Thursday?
Is that the
Never Lose Hoop?
Never Lose Hoop. I think I wrote it down. Hang on a second.
Never Lose Hoop.
Yeah, just send me the information and I'll be there.
I'm waiting to hear back from Mitchell Page.
Okay.
I'm hoping if I can get Mitchell, I'll put him on our team. And then I need to get a 4th.
Okay. Just let me know.
Do you know anybody that plays that I'm Chris Denari I don't think can make it, I think.
Yeah, he usually can't. He's usually got something going on.
But he's always playing at golf events himself like you.
Yeah. Let me think about that one. Man, I am tired.
You are from golf?
No, just I'm.
You know what time I tee off? 7.
What's that?
I teed off at 7 last night.
Oh my gosh.
That's as quick. I'm like, that's as quick as it's nuts.
Well, you got your game in. You got your 9 in.
Yeah, but see, I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna have some space behind me now. There's nobody else. I'm the last guy. Well, some jackleg who had already played, I think, who was walking, he just kind of walked right behind me and started. And I'm like, damn it, I wanted some space. I wanted to just relax.
Yeah.
About 1 minute.
Okay.
What segment is this going to be?
We can do free think.
Boom. Try to help you out there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, boy.
There is an Omar clip in there, and I'm getting a McCauley as well right now.
I will probably
30 seconds also.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Chain of train.
All right, 10.
I always feel like I'm on a NASA space flight.
This segment is brought to you by Free Think Apparel.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday. Thank you very much for being with us. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined now by our good friend Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com, nationally known sports writer.
Greetings
and salutations.
Yes, those two.
Golf game yesterday out at Prairie View, I assume.
Yeah, we had men's club and went and did that. Then I went to Colts camp, checked them out.
See, I've got to get up to now. So you said went to Colts camp. What time was that?
Well, that was their joint practice with the Arizona Cardinals. So they were late. It was what time was it? 6 to 8, something like that. But usually it's in the morning, Jim. Usually it's in the morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, give or take. But these were joint practices and they were a different schedule.
Yeah, someone, I can't remember who gave us the insight that any late practice is going to be a joint practice. I think it may have been Greg Rakestraw that told us that. What is, do you happen to know their next late practice schedule?
I don't think I think today is their last late practice.
So this evening?
This evening, yes.
Man, so I may have to make the drive.
You may have to make the drive.
Coach camp because I have not made it there yet. And have you seen our good friend Matt Taylor?
I have seen Matt Maytay many times. I've seen a lot of good pass rushing. I know that.
Well, that's this Colts team seems to be, I'm not saying great, but balanced. When you have a defense that's coming through, that starts things off on a great foot. The only thing is they're still unproven at quarterback with Anthony Richardson because we don't know, we haven't seen it.
Yeah, we don't, and I don't know this for a fact, but there's a chance he may not even play in the second preseason game against Arizona, which I don't understand at all. But they're balanced, but their secondary is not very good, or they're unproven. Let's put it that way. They're unproven. So they've got some issues that they need to hash out before they're ready to be a playoff contender. But they've got a chance to be a pretty good team. You look at that offensive backfield with Richardson and JT, that could be pretty outstanding.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to this season. I'm looking forward to football, period. I don't care if we're talking about high school, college, or pro, man. We're always excited about the football season coming around, and this is another. There's a lot of new things, a lot of newness. First of all, where I am talking about Indiana in a very, very positive light when it comes to football. The Big Ten has a lot of changes, obviously. What's that going to look like? Michigan, I'm really starting to. I don't know if they finish in the top 4 in the Big Ten right now.
Really?
Well, you've got Ohio State and Oregon, and
Right.
so I've already got them behind them. Michigan lost a ton. They lost,
did.
most of their offense, half their offensive line, their quarterback, their J.J. McCarthy, who's out for the season already in the NFL, sadly. Blake Corum, you lose half of their defensive coaching staff. That is a lot to replace, especially with someone who's not Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
Love him or hate him, he was good at what he did. And part of that was the ability to just completely ignore the outside noise that they created by cheating their ass off, because he was under immense pressure. He spent 7 years getting his butt beat by Ohio State, and magically in those last 2 years, they're a different program, but magically they happen to be cheating with the spy scandal and all that stuff. All that stuff happening at the same time. It's not a coincidence, people. So I don't know how well Sharon Moore is going to be able to block all that out. He's already been
under intense pressure himself.
Yeah, he was already suspended last year. Now he's facing a level 2 infraction from the NCAA, which I'm sure they don't seem to care, which I get it. But at some point, there has to be an effect on the team when you don't have Jim Harbaugh, who is just naturally, this dude, he's got blinders for life, man. He just goes through life with blinders on, and that really helps him. But Penn State, of course, up there. Who this other team is going to be, I don't know. USC, Lincoln Riley. You talk about pressure. There's pressure on Lincoln Riley.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially coming into this league now, when the eyes are on Ohio State, which is fine because they're a Big Ten stalwart. But Oregon coming in, and boom, they're established as one of the favorites. So not a good look for USC, and the fact that there has been a ton of scuttlebutt about them losing Juju Lewis, and very highly potentially to Indiana, of all places.
Yeah, I saw you tweeted that. So how real is this?
It's been real for quite some time. Just no one believe me. I've been saying, I've said for probably 3 months now that it is truly believed Indiana is in the final 2 for Juju Lewis. This was 3 months ago, I think I said this. And that still remains the case. It's who that second team is. It seems to kind of keep rotating. It was Auburn, but Auburn is kind of out of the running. We'll hear from Adam Gorney later, Rivals recruiting analyst. But Auburn seems to be. It has to do with a quarterback that is supposed to go to Notre Dame, but Auburn is, I think, close to flipping. And if that happens, they don't need Juju, and Indiana needs Juju regardless. There's that's changing their outlet. So, and he has the relationship with Tino Sudgery that goes way back. Obviously, he does a great job, and he can come in and be QB1 right off the bat.
Oh, no doubt.
Don't know that that's going to happen at USC. Don't know if Lincoln Riley is going to be at USC. After this year. Colorado is the same thing.
Right.
They have got to come in late and hard and become potentially that second team. Playing for Dion, of course, has to be a big draw, but big fanfare last year, big upset in the first game, but they finished 4-8, man.
4-8. And they're not going to be much better this year, I don't think.
They stunk, and they keep turning the roster completely over. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if you can keep doing that and getting away with it.
Right.
So I don't know. Shedeur Sanders is his son and looks to be a great NFL prospect and a place that he could slide into. But there's just too much uncertainty at Colorado for me. Will Deion be there? That's another thing. His sons are leaving. So the staff at Indiana will be there for the entire time that Juju spends his 3 years prior to being eligible for the NFL draft. So that's
from your lips to God's ears. You ever hear that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Boom. There it is. I'm not going to predict that Indiana lands him. I'm saying the same thing I've said for 3 months. They're in the final two, and it is real. Some people have questioned the ability of Indiana on the NIL side. I'm like, you know what? If Indiana has the chance to land the number one quarterback in the 26 class, he's moved up to 25, still one of the top quarterbacks in the country. If they have a chance to land that recruit, they will find somebody. I don't care if it's Terry Talon or whoever it is that or former football people, they will find it and make it happen and get it close enough.
For a kid with his talent, hell yes.
So, and then it's Katie bar the door. We talk about all the changes that we perceive have taken place with Indiana. They land a guy like that. Well, now you really just kicked the recruiting door open, because right now they're already viewed as having a great receiving core. So there's a draw, and most of those guys are coming back. He'll have seasoned receivers to throw to, and an offense. This Curt Cignetti offense is one that a quarterback has to love. It offers so much as far as diversity. You're going to throw the ball a lot, but you get to run the ball, you hand the ball off. The great thing I love about that offense, you don't know what the hell is going to happen.
What do you like about Rourke? I mean, apparently he's going to be the guy.
Maturity. He is a fifth-year guy. He has played. He's seen it all. And I keep bringing this up, and I know it sounds silly, but this dude's married now. He just got married. So he's either crazy or really mature. So I'm going to go with the really mature side that he took that step. And he did it with purpose, planned. Not a lot of college people get married.
No,
especially so
we're too busy having fun.
Exactly. So when that happens, I'm like, all right, this dude he's smarter than someone like me. He's beyond my years, especially at that time.
Right.
And I just think that he's perfect for this offense, especially in year one, because it is so dynamic. It is so multifaceted that he's going to be able to handle it very easily and adjust to it. But he has a lot of weapons. It's not like he's going to struggle. He's got a great running backs room that will offer varying degrees of opportunities. He's got a ton of different targets in the receiving core, whether it's Omar Cooper or Donovan McCulley, slot receivers, running backs out of the backfield to throw to, and the tight end. If you look at Curt Cignetti, the stats from last year's offense, his top two running backs, who both of which came to Indiana with him from James Madison, totaled only 6 touchdowns on the season, which was a little surprising to me. The tight end had 6 touchdowns. So, and then all that tells me is they get to the red zone. Don't think that there's going to be a book on Indiana. There won't be, or there will be, but it's going to be a multi-chapter. Tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, you don't know. So that's something that I think the Indiana fans are going to love. I think that the offense at a minimum is, for games that Indiana doesn't win, is going to keep them in every game. I don't see them getting blown out by Ohio State, much less anybody out.
I've never heard you so bullish on Indiana football.
I know, and I do it for fear of sounding like a homer, but I'm like, for people that do listen to regularly, know that, hey, I I say what I think. If I see it this way, I'm going to say it. A
There you
lot
go.
of people said, "Oh, he's so negative." No, I'm just bluntly honest, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it's going to be finally the turnaround that Indiana has never made.
Okay. Well, I'm right there with you because I trust in you.
No, that's a mistake. Oh my God. That's like playing golf with me and say, "Oh, we're on the honor system."
Yeah, that's true too.
Got that Judge Schmale's foot wedge going on.
Oh yeah, we all do.
The Colts coming up. You're heading out. I'm going to try to make it up to camp tonight.
Okay, I'm gonna try.
It's that's so far away. It's up in Westfield, man.
Yeah, I know. You're all the way down south. It's not too bad of a haul for me. So, I basically I want to see Richardson be a little more consistent with his accuracy, and I want to see the secondary play better because the secondary is not good, and they did not look good in practice yesterday. So we'll see, but I still think they need to go and make a move, whether that's Justin Simmons or somebody else. But I think they need to make a move and get themselves a little more consistency and some older guys, some guys who've played the position more than 1 year.
Jonathan Taylor coming back. He is expected to be a big part of this.
He's going to have a massive year. He's going to go for 1,500 minimum.
He's going to do big things. We're going to really, really big things. He's going to run for lots of yards, a whole bunch of yards. You won't believe the amount of yards he's going to run for. That's a hard one to have no idea. I'm sure.
I have no response whatsoever.
That's my best trump. That's my
is that your best? I don't do Trump. So,
well, obviously I don't either. So, before we let you get out of here, the WNBA All-Star Game expected to be announced to be coming to Indianapolis next year.
Yes.
And that's huge. That's a huge deal. It's just another jewel in Indianapolis's crown of being the best sports town in America. I will say that until I die. There's just it should be on the permanent. I said this earlier. It should be on the permanent rotation for the NBA, the WNBA All-Star Games, the NCAA Final Four, all of that stuff. There's no city that hosts the level of events that Indy does. Big Ten football championship each year, media days each year. Just you can go on and on and on. It is the best sports city in America.
Media guys, as you know, like to bitch and moan about just about everything. When they come to Indiana and they cover our Super Bowl, our swim trials, whatever, you never hear bitching and moaning, even from people who like to bitch and moan. We do it right. And I can always tell by listening to the other writers and the out-of-town writers to get a sense of their experience. And without fail, they find Indiana and Indianapolis to be the best host in the country, without a question.
Without doubt. And the All-Star game, the WNBA All-Star game coming, I think is a direct result of Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, excuse me, and the fans that have just continuously stuffed and packed Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
No doubt. I mean, Aaliyah is a nice player, very good player, but clearly the other woman, Caitlin, is a cultural earthquake, and
that's a great one. Cultural earthquake.
And she's changed everything in that sport, And yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, there's the reason that they're flying charters instead of commercial is Caitlin Clark. The reason we have the All-Star game here in Indy, Caitlin Clark. I mean, the numbers she's putting up are utterly incredible. And I don't just mean in a basketball sense. I mean, in terms of ratings and everything else, it's been something to behold.
We've got to hit a break. Bob Kravitz is with us. If you've got time for one more segment, I'd love to have you stick around with Coach Griff, and we'll really get you educated on the college side of things so you can be prepared to write something.
Sounds good.
I know you need that help.
I do need help. I need help in so many ways.
I'm only kidding in that regard. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coach Griffith joins us next, along with the great Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. You should be a subscriber. If you're not, you're missing out on great content. And it's all about the Hoosier State sports. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
Coach Griff, meet Bob Kravitz.
Hello, Bob.
How are you?
Pronounced Kravitz pronounced Kravitz in most parts of the world.
Long time reader, first time caller.
First time caller, first time, long time.
Love that.
Grab a Diet Coke here real quick.
Oh, I love him. I love him already.
Save that for the air.
Love he's grabbing a Diet Coke. We're gonna be great buddies. That's all I drink outside of coffee.
I'm on the coffee right now.
I'm on coffee, but I switched to Diet Coke here in about around 10:30.
Well, if I had a McDonald's close by right now, that's the Coke to have. Not to give them a commercial, but I don't know what it seems like. Whatever their mix is, it's dead on.
Yeah, I happen to agree with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, baby.
Yeah, right on, Brian.
Bob Shannon he's a former coach. He coached at Ball State, and he joins us each week and does a lot of football stuff with us. He knows several of the IU coaches. As a matter of fact, he reminds us that he gave Bryant Haynes his first job. Right. Bryant Haynes is the defensive coordinator for Indiana.
Oh, okay.
I'm still trying to get my percentage. I was the one. Yeah, I paid him about $12,000 and 3 hot meals a day. He could surely
1 minute
come back and give me a little bit of bump.
A little something.
He's single. He did. I mean, the guy is living life. Is it raining down there by you guys? Looks like it's getting ready to cut loose up here.
It's cloudy here in central Indy, but no rain in sight.
Have you met Nick yet, Griff?
I'm not sure if I have or not, but I saw he was a Wabash grad. So
yes, sir. Howdy.
NTP, Nick the producer.
We've got about 10 seconds. Gotta love the Little Giants. 3, 2, 1.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Man, we are loaded today. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com is with us. You should be a subscriber. If not, you're missing out on coverage of the Colts, the Pacers, the Fever, the Hoosiers, the Boilers, maybe even some Notre Dame. he mentioned me a while back. I appreciate that. Big shout out to Bob for that. Coach Shannon Griffith joining us as well as he does each and every Thursday. Of course, we might as well talk football. Bob has been all in on Colts camp. I'm sure you follow them as well, Griff. And this is the strangest thing that I think I've ever said. Earlier, Bob said it's hard. It's unusual to hear me being so upbeat on Indiana football. Well, who the hell has ever been that upbeat on Indiana football now that I think about it? But I'm more confident in Indiana this year than I am the Colts.
Oh, wow. That's really
you are clinically insane.
I prefaced everything by saying, I know this is going to sound crazy.
You're right. It does sound crazy.
Well, okay. But your expectations for the Colts are
make the playoffs.
Does that mean win the division?
Not necessarily. I think they'll win 10 games. 10-7, make the playoffs.
Okay, so they're going to like a 55% win percentage, something like that. 50, 60 maybe.
You didn't tell me there's going to be math.
I understand because I am terrible at math, and I've got my shoes off right now in case I need them as an abacus. But that's just roughly. I'm terrible at math. My ADHD brain just does this funky math like that. But so we're thinking 55, 60% of their games they'll win, which should be. Indiana is kind of in that same area. Almost exactly in that same area. I've got them. My official stance on Indiana is 7-5.
7-5. Okay.
I believe 8-4 is
doable,
more than real. But I'll go with 7-5, which puts that in the same exact category as the Colts.
Yeah. Okay.
From a number standpoint, also gets them in the quote unquote playoffs. But it will be interesting to see which team kind of catches fire. The Colts have the advantage of having an established coaching staff already there. They're running the same stuff. They're not changing. They're just another year into getting more and more used to it with the players they brought in. So it's going to be interesting, but making the playoffs is of the greatest importance.
Oh, to me, they've got to make the playoffs or Chris Ballard's done. I mean, to me, you can't go 8 years and never win the AFC South. That's to me is a non-starter. If they can win 10 games, even if they don't win the division, as long as they make the playoffs, that's cool. I mean, they've only made the playoffs, twice in Ballard's time here. They've only won one playoff game down in Houston. So it's time. It's time for them to take that next step. And whether they will or not, I think a lot of it's going to obviously have to do with Anthony Richardson, but a lot of it too is that secondary, which scares me to death.
Does just making the playoffs? Does just making the playoffs save Ballard?
I think so. I think that's the baseline expectation. But, Houston's really good. Jacksonville kind of fell apart there at the end of the season, but I think they're going to be pretty good. I don't have very high thoughts about Nashville, about Tennessee, but what Jim gives up in math, he adds with vocabulary. That's awesome, Brian.
It is. I love that.
Make a T-shirt.
Oh boy, you're jumping in on me on my. Yeah, I love that. Indiana will be stronger at quarterback than the Colts. They've got a 5th-year guy. The Colts have a 2nd-year guy who's not really a 2nd-year guy. He's more like a 1.5 year guy because he got hurt.
Are you drunk?
I meant as far as relative to their sport. I'm not saying that they're equal. I'm, relative to the NFL, to college.
Well, he's certainly got more experience. Well, I'll give him that. He's a fifth-year guy.
And so Anthony got hurt last year, so he lost a lot of that time. That's valuable time when you're a rookie. Right. That's probably the worst time to get hurt, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and I like I say, I don't understand, given what happened last year, why you wouldn't play him in the preseason or play him sparingly. I went back and I looked at Tom Brady and Peyton Manning's preseason numbers, and they routinely threw between 50 and 70 passes in the preseason. I mean, they got some serious time, but you got a guy who's basically still a rookie and he's barely playing. I don't understand this. And gosh, it sounds like a column I ought to write.
See, isn't that no, that was Kyle Nenrip I gave a story idea to yesterday. And speaking of which, it was one, and great to bring up now. I was talking about the protective caps that are being worn in practice. Yeah. That we've seen these Guardian caps. We've seen these worn in practice. Well, now they're approved for games. Jonathan Taylor has already worn one in a game, in a preseason game. I don't see why the hell would you not wear it. Why would you not wear it? There, you lose nothing, especially if you're a running back or an offensive lineman. You're crazy not to wear one.
Well, I think there's two things. One, does it slow you down? I would have to assume that while it's light, it has to add some bulk to your head. So is it going to slow you down? And the other thing is, it's just kind of wacky looking, and guys want to look good out there. And look,
what did the leather helmets look like?
Leather helmets? I thought they were pretty sharp.
Well, you know what? I think they should go back to them.
Let's go.
You're not going to have the head injuries because guys are not going to be leading with their head.
Right.
I said this yesterday. I only played through high school, but the one thing I never did when playing defense was lead with my head. Yeah. I was always conscious of my neck. Really. I had an affinity for being able to walk, and I had an affinity for my neck, and so I always, tried to get my head to the side, do whatever you wanted to do. In the NFL, it is just to hit. It's like being a torpedo. Yeah. And these guys sacrifice their bodies, but I'm like, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, why would you not wear it? I'm just saying that those are the reasons why they might not. But right now, 5 Colts wore it in the preseason game the other day. And whether that number will go up or go down, I have no idea.
See, if a defensive back had that and wore it, I think it leads them to do it more often, to lead with their head, because now they got that extra, that extra protection on top.
That's a good point.
But I think all the head leading in tackling and stuff, this started years ago when they weren't enforcing it at the lower levels. So kids just learned that facet of the game, to, and how DBs would leave their feet, hit a receiver that's exposed in midair. The thought behind it was teach them a lesson not to come across the middle again. And
right.
It all started years ago. And that's the problem, that it was never enforced enough at those high school levels. When it was really called spearing in those days, they would call that type of play spearing when a kid led with his helmet, especially if a kid was leading with his helmet on a player that was already on the ground.
Right.
That whole facet was just, for whatever reason, not reinforced enough when they were young. And it's become a learned trait, muscle movement trait that, they don't think. I mean, they just do. Mm-hmm. And so you're trying to teach some guys to relearn something that, years ago they already, it's already been embedded in their, their head and stuff. So that's where it's got to start to stop it. But as far as wearing it, the caps, I'm kind of with Bob. They say I'm not sure they look all that great.
No,
one. And, but at the end of the day, I mean, if a kid feels it or a professional athlete feels like it's going to help them and save them, then by all means, I don't think there should be any rule against it.
No, absolutely not. Hey, I'm curious, speaking of changes in football, what do you guys think of the dynamic kickoff rule?
I'm having trouble with that one.
Having trouble with that one? Why is that?
I just think it's more of the visual that you get from it, where the guys they're close up to each other. It probably will take one of those things that another year or two to get used to and start realizing it. What I do like about it, it does force the concept of, reintroducing the return game into the game, because it was almost a wasted play the way we used to do it, or still do it in some respects, where you go out there and they kick it and it goes in the end zone, and you're like, why are we doing this? If that's what they're, why waste time doing something that ultimately is going to get you the ball at the 25 or whatever? So I do like that aspect of it. It reintroduces a concept in the game that can be exciting.
Absolutely.
So I think for me, it's just the way it's aligned, the alignment, getting used to that aspect of it. But there are other things.
And for those that are not aware of it, Bob, explain how you see it, or Griff, either one of you. I don't care.
Go ahead, Griff.
Well, I mean, essentially, the front lines of kickoff and kickoff return units are assembled. Basically, I think is it a 10-yard or a 5-yard?
I think it's
10-yard variance away from each other. Neither the front line of the return team or the kick team can start moving until the ball is fielded by the return man. Then it just turns into basically 10 men on 10 men of blocking with the running the kick returner somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 yards back. Now, what they're trying to ultimately to do, outside of the play being useless in the game, is create that excitement of it, but also to reduce the banging that guys would take running down the field full speed and trying to make a tackle or get blindsided, or things that could compromise the health of a player. So it's kind of a twofold introduction to that specific part of the game. Yeah. Bob, you can take it from there if you want to.
No, the thing too is it forces more bigger players into the play. I mean, it used to be you'd have your gunners on the outside, and that was about it. Now you've got more linebacker type bodies playing that position, guys who are safeties. They drafted this Anthony Gould, I think that's his name, who they think can be a real game changer in the dynamic kicking game. We haven't seen it just yet, but I kind of like it. I mean, to me, the old kickoff was an excuse to go to the fridge and get a beer.
It was mainly traditional. It had to the point of tradition being
right. So I prefer this over what we had. I'll say that.
Yeah, I agree. What are you looking forward to? I know you've been spending time with the Colts, Bob, but the college football season, the Big Ten has changed. You got the 4 new teams, and both Purdue and Indiana affected differently by those schedules. Indiana playing Washington, and I'm drawing a blank here.
Purdue's got Oregon State.
UCLA. How could I forget? Yeah. Purdue has got Purdue has done themselves zero favors. I will give Indiana this. They normally do a lot of dumb stuff. whether it's coaching hires or whatever. But buying out of that Louisville game last year was a very, very smart thing. They have 8 home games this year now, so they're going to make that money back. But more importantly, they have set themselves up I keep saying this, there's a path to 6-0 for Indiana. And I know it's ludicrous, but that path is there. And it's not like you've got to upset somebody. I mean, theoretically beating UCLA in the Rose Bowl will be an upset on paper. I don't know how much of an upset it's truly going to be. So we'll see about that. But 8 home games, you got Ohio State and Michigan on there, but because of all the change that has happened with Washington, that makes that game different. 7 out of 9 conference games are against teams with coaches that's only been there 1 or 2 years. This is a different type of year.
Well, Griff, I'm curious what you think. You're closer to it than I am. I mean, I'm fascinated to see the Pac-12 guys come in and see how they respond and how teams respond to them. I'm curious what you think.
Well, I think it'll be an infusion of different styles of football, especially offensively as it goes. But I think every offense nowadays is in some respects similar to each other. I don't know how much difference it ultimately would be. I think the Pac-12 will have to get used to the I guess you'd call it, just the grind and beating up of each other at the line of scrimmage, the physicality part of it. Right. I do think the Big Ten overall has a little bit more physicality in the game than maybe what a West Coast team like USC or UCLA in that regard. So they'll have to have some of, that aspect of it. But I do think it's going to be a very interesting year overall, not just with the new Big Ten. You got some of the new kids in the SEC and how that all develops in terms of rankings. I mean, when the rankings came out, I think the Big Ten occupied about 75% of the top 10 in some respects. But I do think it's going to be a very big boost for what those teams add in an entertainment value to the Big Ten overall. I just think there's some dynamics there that the Big Ten maybe lacks a little bit in the entertainment value.
Well, I appreciate Bob staying a little longer. And while he's on here, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on just to have the big party before we go to break. Chris Denari coming to us from the confines of, Nick took him away. We lost him. He's out on a swing. This is a new look.
I heard a dog.
New look, Chris Denari, out on a swing on the porch. Look at him. We've got Bob Kravitz and Coach Shannon Griffith with us right now before we head to break.
I'm out on the front porch. We've got grandson duties for 3 straight days. He spent the night, so he's over here playing with some cars. So I will do the interview out here on my front porch.
Already ran you out of the house, huh?
Just a lot easier with don't have to battle dogs and all that kind of stuff in my office. So,
Bob, you should stop by and see the beautiful things that Chris has done with his backyard. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I'm surprised you're not over there at night talking Pacers around the fire pit.
Oh yeah, I go over and mow his lawn every couple of weeks.
That job is open.
Bob's hitting drivers in 3 woods every day. Come on.
Yeah. Trying to.
He ain't lying. Well, Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. Make sure you're giving him a follow and be a subscriber. Tons of coverage. He'll be at Colts camp tonight. I'm going to try to hit up there as well, but appreciate you, my friend.
All right, buddy. You guys.
Coach Griff, appreciate you. We got things moved around today, and we'll get back to normal, but it won't be long. We'll be doing multiple shows a week as the season kicks off. We're going to have a post-game show for sure for football. maybe do either a pregame show from the stadium and maybe a midweek show just to kind of wrap up and preview what's coming up.
Sounds good to me, my man. And yeah, you better enjoy what you can now because it's going to start here quick and it will be Thanksgiving before we know it.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, sir. Shannon Griffith joining us on the program today. Chris Denari's with us now, and he'll be with us on the other side of this break. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
All right, we're back to being able to talk between breaks.
Okay.
I have NTP, Nick the producer now.
Oh, good.
So,
Where's he out of?
Howdy.
I'll tell you where he's out of. He lives literally within a good drive and a good 3-wood from your perch in turn 4.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Is that kind of accurate, Nick?
Very accurate. Are you familiar with Speedway?
Yeah.
So my father's house is over like on Main Street, like not the main street, with like Dawson's and everything, but over towards back track. Then my mom is over, right off of 25th Street in Meadowood.
Okay. So yeah, you're right there.
Born and raised. I love this place. Big IndyCar fan, big sports car fan. So just racing.
So what year Speedway?
I graduated Speedway in 2018. Then I just graduated from Wabash.
Oh, I'm a little giant.
Oh, really?
1983.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Long time ago. So when you see the 1982 championship team, I was on that team.
Oh, really? Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's always cool to find a little giant out in the wild. It seems like it'd be hard, but there's a lot more of us than you think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was last Thursday. Well, I couldn't do the show because I was driving to Fort Wayne. I played in a Wabash athletic outing. It was the Big Cookie Open.
Nice.
I played with 1 minute. 3 of my teammates from, hey, I've got to do this interview. You play some cars right now, and then I'll come over. All right? Play some cars, and then I'll come over. Jim, the NBA schedule's announced today at 3. So,
oh, wow.
And then, other news was the Fever, Fever just got the All-Star game, which I think we all thought was going to happen.
That's a little early for the NBA schedule, huh?
No, it's always right about now. It's funny. It's ahead of college basketball. If you look at the Big Ten, they've not announced. Teams have announced their non-conference, but not their conference.
Five.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, a full and packed Thursday. Finished up with Coach Griffith and Bob Kravitz. Chris Denari from the Pacers joining us now, and some news more related to the Fever. I mentioned it earlier, but Indianapolis, the #1 sports city in America, they need to adopt that moniker because it's actually true. You see other towns try to claim this and that, but there is no city in America that does what Indianapolis does as far as hosting on a regular basis and hosting at a high level these major events, whether it's the WNBA or the NBA All-Star Game, soon to be the WNBA All-Star Game, the NCAA Final Four, the tournament, the NIT, the Indianapolis 500, NASCAR. I can go on and on. The Big Ten football championships, Big Ten media days. It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And that's why the WNBA is something for the first time. I know they've been around for a long time, and it's not like no one knew who Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird and all those players were. They were, but they were, let's be honest, a secondary sport on virtually every day. That's not the case anymore, and the WNBA wisely is trying to capitalize on that and name Indianapolis as their all-star site, because this has become one of the epicenters, as it should, for the excitement of what's going on in that league.
Yeah, WNBA is red hot right now. There's no question about that. But when you talk about Indianapolis, I mean, Jim, you've got to go back to the vision that the late Jim Morris, who just passed away, had. He and other city people realized in the mid 80s to draw people downtown, to sort of build up downtown Indianapolis, that sports was a key thing. And it started with, becoming the amateur sports capital of the world. They built the Hoosier Dome. You already had the Pacers. You already had the 500. But you just rattled off all the things that Indianapolis has had. And if you look at, this couple-year run, first and second rounds, Big Ten tournaments, Women's Big Ten, NBA All-Star Game, WNBA All-Star Game, the NIT at Hinkle, the Indianapolis 500, the Colts had the Super Bowl a number of years. So it's been quite a run, and it's going to continue because the leadership that the city and the state have, and more importantly, Jim, it's the volunteer base. You've got to have people that are committed to making their city look good and their state look good. And Indianapolis and Indiana has always had that. I mean, that's one of the reasons we're celebrating the 25-year anniversary of the NCAA moving to Indianapolis. They recognized what this city could do for that organization. So, yeah, really, really special time. Great to see the WNBA All-Star Game in 2025 coming. Today's really a busy day. You'd say August 15th, in Indianapolis, you're talking basketball, but the Fever resume their schedule tomorrow night against Phoenix. Then they've got Seattle on Sunday. And also today at 3 o'clock, the NBA announces the schedule for 24-25. So I'll really be dialed in on that, because basically it will tell me what I'm doing from October 1 to the end of April. So looking forward to that release a little bit later today at 3 o'clock.
Anything that you're looking at seeing, any expectations, any surprises you think that could be coming?
Well, they've already announced 4 games. The other day they announced the 4 games that you'll play in the in-season tournament. And the Pacers already have a national TV game against Milwaukee on a Friday night in November. So that's a national game. And I think that's the other thing, Jim. The last couple of years when Indiana, won, 25 games and 35 games, leading into last year, they had very few national appearances. I would expect that there will be a lot more when that schedule is released tonight, and how that impacts us locally. Again, we've had the conversation. We're not quite sure what is going to happen from a local broadcast standpoint, just because of Valley's bankruptcy issues and still waiting to have that play out. I can assure you, though, wherever we are, it'll be myself, Quinn Buckner, and Jeremiah Johnson. But that should all be sorted out here into the month of August. But today will be the schedule release, find out how many national games there are. For me, it's always to look at the road trips. How long are some of the road trips, whether it's out west, whether it's out east? Because in the last couple of years, we've had some significant road trips of 12 or 13 days, 6 or 7 games. So for me, that's something that I tend to look at once the schedule is released.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because then we'll have schedules for everything. IU basketball, Purdue basketball, that we know the football schedules already. What's grandson's name?
It is Archer. He is down here playing cars and singing.
That's a little Archer. Yeah, you ought to put him on camera and say hi.
Hey, Archer, you want to come say hi? No, now
that usually makes him shy.
Yeah. You just say camera, and he's not quite sure. He's now. If we wanted to make him be quiet, that's what we needed to say. But so now he's very quiet.
And I failed to mention Indianapolis has already hosted the College Football National Championship as well.
Yeah.
Back in 2022. So I don't think there's a city in America that has hosted what Indianapolis has hosted. When you talk about all the All-Star games, you talk about the College Football National Championship, the Big Ten National Championship, the Big Ten men's and women's basketball tournaments.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Colts, there's nothing other than playoff games there, I guess. But it's crazy. There's no
the foresight, Jim, the city had to build a dome years ago that could be utilized for football, basketball, and all those other events. Look at what cities are trying to do now. Cleveland feels like they need a new football stadium. And we think about playing along the lake in Cleveland. But now they're talking about potentially building a dome stadium because they're thinking about all the other things you can attract other than NFL football. And I think if you think about it, Indianapolis had the foresight 40 years ago to do that. And it's paid dividends for the last 40 years, not just for the Indianapolis Colts, but all those events that have been at the RCA Dome and now at Lucas Oil Stadium. And then, in my estimation, you have the best basketball venue in the world in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So Indianapolis, you have to give a lot of credit to all those people, almost 50 years ago that had the foresight to see what Indianapolis could be, and they understood that sports was the way to get there. Now, I'm not saying sports is the end-all, be-all, but you utilize things that you think can help your city, and clearly sports did that.
Michael asking, what is more likely for Indianapolis to host within the next 10 years? Another Super Bowl? Nope. Or the College Football National Championship? Within the next 10 years, I don't see them getting another Super Bowl.
Indianapolis deserves a Super Bowl. They knocked it out of the park. Mel Raines, who is now our CEO of Pacer Sports and Entertainment, was a key player in that. But I don't know the dynamics and the politics of the NFL. You'd like to think maybe that could happen. So I guess I would just say I would think there would be a better chance for the College Football Championship than there would be for a Super Bowl.
Yeah. What about having it in Fort Wayne? Maybe move it to Fort Wayne.
I love Fort Wayne though. I think
I'm not cracking on Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
I feel bad for them. They lost the Mad Ants, man.
Hey, Archer has come over now. He wants to say hello.
Archer, how are you doing, my brother? Welcome in. Do you have some great insights into what is going on into today's sports world for us?
What do you think? Can you say Pacers basketball?
Go Pacers.
Camera shy.
Go Papaw.
Yep.
Who's your favorite grandfather?
Am I Gramps? Yeah.
I knew that would quiet the storm, though. That's all you have to do is ask them to talk. And it's coming back. He has thoughts.
He loves to sit here on the porch. I think he's going to really enjoy as he gets older going out to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway because this little guy loves cars. So you like cars,
he's right there with my producer Nick. Nick is right there. Yes. Say vroom vroom vroom. Nick is a big Speedway fan. He's a big fan of Indianapolis and all that goes into that. And his ultimate job, he wants to work with IndyCar. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I know some people, and I know some people that know some people. So that probably won't be a problem.
25 years on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network, turned 4. And then Nick and I have something in common. We're both Wabash Little Giants. I'm a little older than he is, but let's see. I graduated in '83. Nick said in '22. So that's like
I was going to say, was Nick born in 83?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
But man, I appreciate you so much as always. Enjoy the kiddos, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Chris Denari joining us from the Indiana Pacers, brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg, Indiana. For our Southern Indiana listeners, go see Dr. J. Keep that championship smile. When we come back, we're going to hear a conversation with Adam Gorney, the national recruiting analyst for Rivals and Yahoo. And we're going to talk Indiana football. We'll talk Big Ten football and Juju Lewis right after this break.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
Well, that was a little louder than I would have liked for it to have been. It's not exactly great radio.
It happens.
Oh, trust me. It happens.
Yeah, like I got some wild dogs going on right now.
No, I'm not out on the Juju limb, Brian. It's just I'm not predicting Juju to Indiana. I am saying that Indiana is not a they're not a background player. They're a front ground player. They are very much in the discussion of where he ends up. And as a matter of fact, I think they're in the final two. I just don't know who number 2 is. Is number 2 Colorado or is number 2 USC? They're not going to just walk away. It's a bad look for Lincoln Riley to lose. Not only is it a bad look, and I need to save this, and I'll repeat it, but it's losing it to Indiana. That's a kick in the onions, bro. We
go back in about 1 minute. Are you gonna go straight in, or do you want me to go just like straight in with the
if it's set up to go in already, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Go just take it in.
Cool. That's about 16 minutes.
It's about how long?
16.
All right, so
we go back at 1:38, so in 15 seconds we'll go back.
1:38 plus 16.
All right, I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1.
Segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Speed Radio here on this Thursday. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you. Joining me now is the National Recruiting Director for Rivals and Yahoo, Adam Gorney. Adam, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Jim. How are you, man?
Great. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us. I know you're very busy. I was talking about on yesterday's show that we are dead center of fall camp and the kickoff. And my kickoff, I don't count week 0 just because there's no calories there, but to week 1 kickoff. And it's rolling quickly, and it's going to be here. There's not a ton of big games up front, I'm fine with that. I'd rather teams get their stuff going, and I wouldn't, if I was a team that's a quality team, the last thing I would want is a tough matchup right off the bat, just
for that reason, and because of what a loss in college football does. It's unlike almost any other sport.
Yeah, it is definitely different now, though. So I would agree with you. If I was an athletic director, if I was a coach, my non-conference schedule, especially in the SEC, especially in the Big Ten, would be as easy as it could possibly be. And then I just wouldn't test my team until absolutely necessary later in the season. I do think, though, with 12 teams now, it does change. A loss does not completely put your season out of reach of the playoff. I think the committee will take those bigger games into account, and so you could be a little bit more risky. Now, to be risky in week 1, I'm not sure that's the way to go. But as a college football fan, I certainly encourage those games because it's certainly better than watching Western Carolina at NC State.
Pretty much everything we're going to see on week 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys. And I get it. It's like, man, just start the good stuff. And speaking of schedules, Indiana Kurt Cignetti could not have handpicked a schedule better than for his first season at Indiana. The Hoosiers have 8 home games, which is an anomaly. Part of that is because they bought out of the game with Louisville, which they caught a lot of flack over. But looking at this now, a very wise decision. It was money well spent. But they've got 8 home games, and the 4 games they have on the road are at UCLA, which I think Indiana upsets UCLA, wins that game. They have to go to Northwestern and play on the soccer field. Then they have to go to Michigan State, which could be certainly a test, and Ohio State, and that's a different story there. But everything else is like, this is nuts. The opportunity that lays before Curt Cignetti.
Yeah, it's certainly a good start for him. FIU should be a win. Western Illinois should definitely be a win. UCLA will be a contest out there. But again, with a first-year coach and a lot of changes at UCLA, and Chip didn't exactly leave him, a full cupboard at UCLA. That team last year really didn't play all that motivated, and so that's an interesting game. Charlotte comes in. So, best case scenario here is Indiana is 4-0 and Maryland comes to town to end September. Now, the Big Ten schedule, and we just talked offline, the Big Ten schedule will be definitely difficult. There will be challenges. But in a conference where there are some games that are very winnable here, like, a Maryland team will come in against possibly a 4-0 Indiana team. We'll see how that goes. Northwestern toss-up. Nebraska. Let's see if the hype is real with Nebraska before we start crowning them back into the national picture. This was not an offense that was really humming last year. Certainly different look there. But, things get difficult late October, November, but those are the building blocks you're going to have. You're not going to go from what Indiana football has been to Big Ten champions overnight, but there are certainly winnable games here. Bowl games certainly not out of the question.
And not only that, I mean, everyone is judging a lot of teams on what they did last year. And if you do that with Indiana, you're going to be way off the mark, because that was a 1-8 Big Ten that just had no offensive punch, no identity. They had their issues. We could get a psychiatrist on a couch and talk about that for hours, but that's not the case now. Curt Cignetti and crew brought in a ton of talent. They had 3 of Pro Football Focus's top 10 defensive transfers, not in a position, but 3. And I'm like, this is against the big boys. And this is Indiana doing this. They also have one of the top receiving rooms in the Big Ten, if not the best. One of the transfers that came in from JMU as well, Surratt, and they just add to that. Nothing special at quarterback, but a solid 5th-year guy. He's married, for gosh sake, so he's either crazy or he's really mature. I don't know which it is, but they have put the pieces in place. Their defensive backfield, spectacular. They've got a freshman All-American back there. So they, with the schedule, the way it's laid out, I'm just like, man, Indiana has got an opportunity to really surprise a lot of people that are looking at that 1-8 Big Ten record last year.
Yeah, and I think that's the case of the transfer portal and what it could do for a roster. I mean, almost every coach, except for some outliers, are going to talk about building from high school and up. You know, and then some guys like Dion and Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. Even Jeff Brom at Louisville has done this a lot, even though he took his team to the ACC championship last year. They've gone heavy portal, like 40, 50 guys a year. Dion has turned over the roster twice to do it. I think Kenny Dillingham has been active again in the portal, but I think it's a nice mix of what Indiana has done here and Curt Cignetti has done. Is he's brought a lot of his own guys, so there's a lot of familiarity there, whether they're wearing a James Madison uniform or an Indiana uniform. And let's be honest, I mean, James Madison over the last few years is probably a better football team. So that's an upgrade at a lot of spots. And then they picked and choose some other guys that they could bring in quickly that can have an impact. So that's the nature of college football now, is you do not have to wait. Cignetti doesn't have to come in and recruit high school kids and hopefully in 3 years not be on the hot seat and have many of those guys develop. There are definitely very elite players that are looking for an opportunity elsewhere. Maybe they're stuck behind somebody. Maybe they're down on the depth chart. Maybe they were over-recruited somewhere else, or the situation where you can basically just follow your coach now to his new school, and he can put a lot of those pieces in terms of everything. It's not just talent. It's in terms of language, in terms of understanding the offensive and defensive systems. A lot of these guys are basically running the same things that they've been running before in a different uniform. So very quickly, a team that, you know, like you said, struggled last year has been struggling over the last few years, 9 wins in the last 3 seasons. That roster could be quickly turned and changed, and it doesn't have to happen only through this like organic high school recruiting.
Yeah, and that will probably be something that he builds up later. Indiana has not been able to recruit the state of Indiana very well as far as the top talent. Not that Indiana is a Texas or an Ohio or Pennsylvania, but with their top talent in this state, it either ends up at Notre Dame or Ohio State or Michigan or LSU. Even one of the kids is going there. But speaking and the staff, the continuity on his staff is almost staggering to me. Brian Haynes, his defensive coordinator, in his 10th season with him, which is mind-boggling. Different, not always as DC, but it doesn't matter. That continuity, the offensive coordinator and Tino Sunseri as well. These guys have been with him for 6 years or more. Yeah. And to get that is that's unheard of almost in this day and age.
Yeah, and the recruiting staff that he's put together, the guys that he's brought into Bloomington, all very high level guys. Look, Curt Cignetti knows how to win football games. Now the question is, and he knows how to develop team, and he knows how to run offense and defense. Now the question is he just going to be overwhelmed by the talent that the rest of the Big Ten has? Because those guys are pretty good coaches too. So I think that's the question. The first step was being in the ball game, like getting a coach in with a history of winning, getting a staff in with a lot of general manager, or you have like a recruiting staffer, your director of player personnel, his staff, all of those guys play significant roles in the success of a football program. So he certainly has a level of winning. He has a staff that trust him and want to be with him. And now it's just a question of, can he get players in there enough, whether through the transfer portal or through high school, to make Indiana not only competitive, but win a lot of those games, beat Maryland, Nebraska. I don't think in year one they're going to be beating Ohio State, but putting up those kinds of contests to make them, make it feel like Indiana's not an off week.
Yeah, you've got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. beat the teams that you could beat, and beat somebody that you shouldn't beat.
Right.
That's, you've arrived when you're in that competitive level. And don't forget, I told Greg Smith, I'm going to talk about Juju Lewis now. There's been, more chatter this week. There hadn't been much chatter involving Juju Lewis and Indiana outside of this coverage area for a while, but that buzz has been here. And I told Greg Smith, he was with us a couple of weeks ago. I said, watch out. I said, I'm telling you, Indiana is deeper than people think. And in my mind, it was the final two then. It wasn't Colorado at that point. But it's just really switched with who that second team has been. USC seems to be out of the picture now, but that could always change. Everything can always change. But the sheer fact that in Indiana, where they are right now, is in the position they are with Juju is an absolute credit to the staff, first of all, in building that relationship. But the belief that a recruit like that has in what Curt Cignetti is doing.
Yeah, I would definitely not say USC is out of it by any means. I think the people that I talked to there seem pretty comfortable with their situation. There could be some NIL squeeze going on right now that is sort of behind the scenes of today's day and age of recruiting, which is interesting. But absolutely, Indiana is much more in the picture now, and there's a lot going on. I mean, I won't bore everyone with the stories, but Auburn looked like they were in a pretty decent position. They kind of moved on from it, and now it looks like Deuce Knight, the Notre Dame quarterback, will eventually flip to Auburn, but Notre Dame is stressing to him to not make any decisions until at least the season. Now, that could be because they want Deuce Knight to see Notre Dame's offense with a new offensive coordinator. That could be to stress Auburn and Ole Miss to potentially move on from Deuce Knight and to flip someone else, in which then they, it looks good that possibly Juju Lewis gets back into that picture. But Indiana is certainly in here. He has a relationship with Tino that goes back literally since Juju was a kid, and Tino was at Florida State. So those recruiting is really, there's a lot that goes into recruiting a kid now, including money. I like to say that all the stuff that used to be illegal is now like encouraged and promoted. Everything. But
unless you're a Canadian hockey player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. But so absolutely Indiana is involved in this. I also think Indiana is involved here, not only because of Tino and the people that I've talked to there. I don't want to say it's like cautious optimism, but it's certainly like, hey, we have a relationship. We're going to stay in this. We're going to battle until the end. But I would say that, there's also like this feeling that nationally, not only at Rivals where he's number 5 nationally, but other places, he's not getting the respect he deserves. And Indiana is sort of promoting that to him. Like, we're not getting the respect we deserve. Look at what we've done in our careers. Come here and be that guy to do that. So, USC has things that no other school can battle with in this situation. They have a coach who basically you're almost guaranteed to be a number 1 pick and Heisman Trophy contender if you play for him. The way his offense is set up, you're going to have success. You're going to have skill players that he can recruit nationally. Like, all of those things fit into it. In terms of an NIL structure, there's nothing, better than promoting you in Los Angeles and everything that goes in to that. But that being said, Colorado has intrigued him because of Dion. And I think that's really the main reason. Pat Shurmur running offense there with his NFL background is definitely something to consider. But if this comes down to relationships, if this comes down to sort of like, I'm not respected and I'm going to go show you that I can make Indiana football not only relevant again, but very competitive in the Big Ten, then I think definitely Indiana is in the picture here. They are certainly still recruiting him hard and not just going through the gestures. They are going after him to get him, not to finish in second place.
Big thanks to Adam Gorney for joining us there on the program. We've got more from Adam tomorrow, and we'll hear more about that as the recruiting and the college football season is upon us. Big thanks to Shannon Griffith, Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com, and Chris Denari, Nick, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Appreciate you so much. We're back tomorrow to do this once more. Todd Leary joins us, Zach Osterman, Travis Miller, and we'll hear more from Adam Gorney. Go out and have yourselves a great day. Tomorrow's Friday, and looking forward to it. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.